Hello, my name is Sylvia from Sylvia Ray, and you're watching my channel. Today we're going to be talking about love in art, how it appears in art, its impact, all the fun stuff. Art can be a variety of things when it comes to expressing a certain emotion, and when it comes to love, sometimes there are certain colors that might trigger certain emotions. Red for passion, pink for like a super feminine feel, you know, however you can interpret that. Maybe the movement, subject and context also really matter. Art can tell a story, or maybe to express how you feel about something or somebody. Today I've gathered my favorite pieces of art that have to do with love. The first piece of art I've picked here, it's a sculpture. It's called The Kiss. This piece was created in France in the late 1800s. Now, Auguste Rodin was a French sculptor. A lot of his sculptures reflect themes of mythology or allegory, so he's really into the storytelling. He modeled the human body naturally. I personally like this sculpture. I think it's beautiful. To me, when I first saw this, it just looked like two people passionately sharing a kiss. It reminds me of a love that I have. So Dante is a 1400s Italian poet, and he wrote this story of Paolo and Francesca that this sculpture was based off of. In this fictional story, he places himself in it as a pilgrim, and he basically travels through hell with Virgil, who's a Roman poet from 70 BC. So the story basically starts out with Dante the pilgrim walking through a dark woods, kind of led astray from a path of righteousness due to his own indulgent desires, his sinning ways, and he meets Virgil, who wants to guide him back on the path of righteousness by guiding him through the three realms of the afterlife. The realms are hell, purgatory, and heaven. When they make their first stop to hell, they encounter the circle of the lustful. It's this place where the souls of the damned are basically being tossed around, banged up against each other, like a whirling cyclone of their own passion. But there happen to be two souls that are very close together, and they appear to fly as one. These souls are Paolo and Francesca. So in 14th century Italy, Francesca was the daughter of the Lord of Ravenna. It's a city-state that was at war with Rimini. I hope I'm saying these words right. Because these places are in a rivalry, there was a strategy to secure the peace between the two. Francesca's father basically had Francesca marry a man named Giovanni, who is the son of one of Rimini's leaders. So Francesca and Giovanni form a union, a marriage, but they weren't happy together. But Francesca does meet and fall in love with his brother, Paolo. Back to the story where Paolo and Francesca meet Dante. Francesca says that on this day that they fell in love, Francesca and Paolo were reading a story together. The story of Guinevere and Lancelot. That's another love story. So it's a story within a story. And those two people, they had basically had a love affair. They were from two opposing powers. Similar to the Paolo and Francesca story, when they read the part where Guinevere gave in to the kiss of Lancelot, that's when Francesca gave in to the kiss of Paolo. This is the kiss that they shared, I assume, after they read the story, you know. This was the rite of passion. The reason why they're in hell to begin with is because not only the fact that they sinned, but also Giovanni, Paolo's brother. Once he found out about the affair, he killed both of them in a rage. The actual story itself is supposed to be a cautionary tale of succumbing to sin, because, you know, religion is pretty prevalent. But there were other people who were Dante aficionados in the late 19th and 20th century who have different interpretations of this story. They kind of saw Francesca as more of a cultural icon as opposed to an actual sinner. She had given into the passions that she felt. It's these animalistic desires that make us human. So when you give into that, you're just being human, especially when you put it into perspective that she was forced into a marriage that she did not want. This whole story challenged Christians' conception on the afterlife. Nobody really knows what happens when we die. I'm not sure if anybody will ever know. who knows, maybe our souls will ascend and we'll find out what it really means, you know, or maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe we're just human beings that are walking on a giant space rock with brains that have a capability of intelligence that we don't necessarily deserve. Anyway, there were people who thought that Paolo and Francesca deserved a happier afterlife. They deserved a paradise because they found each other and they were happy. So our next piece of art is a painting by Frida Kahlo. So as you can see, this painting, it's a self-portrait. It's called Self-Portrait as a Tehuana. She's wearing kind of like a headdress. On her unibrow, her beautiful, beautiful face. If you know her well enough, you would know that this man is her husband. I'm gonna need to give you some backstory. Frida Kahlo, in 1925, she was traveling on this rickety old bus and a tram plowed into it. A metal handrail had pierced her body. The doctors feared that she would die during surgery. She had an extensive stay in that hospital bed. It was her mother that gave her the tools to pass the time, painting easel, some paint, some brushes. She started painting while she was in that hospital bed. She painted her friends, her family. She gained confidence through her painting. After she had gotten out of the hospital, she met a man named Diego. Diego Rivera was one of the most celebrated artists in the world. He created murals on walls of universities and other public buildings all around Mexico. They primarily represented Mexican culture and history, and they were so beautiful and extraordinary. So when Frida meets Diego, he's painting a mural on a wall, and she came up to him and was like, yo, get down from there. Let me holler at you real quick. Listen, I need to make a living, okay? So would you mind checking out these paintings I got? See if I'm good enough to make a living off of this work? Let me know. Help me out. And according to her, basically what he said back to her was, I can't tell you that. All right? You should be painting whatever you want. You shouldn't have to worry about what the hell I say. Do what you gotta do. Do what you want. And that impressed her a lot, apparently. You know, she loved that. She said that she began to paint what she believed in. Eventually, they did get married, and it was awful. It was so bad. They had a lot of affairs with other people. And she had also found out that he had an affair with her sister. In 1939, they did get a divorce. And that was when she painted this picture. And the reason why she had painted him on her forehead like that was just to symbolize that he is always on her mind, that she has an obsessive need to be around him and to love him no matter what, that she loves him with all of her life. And you can only imagine how much love that she has for a person who not only became her lover, but also her mentor in that way, to be the artist that she is. When you have somebody like that, it's not so easy to let them go, even if it's super rocky. I can understand where she's coming from, because when you get cheated on, it's like something triggers in your brain. It's not very fun. It's not a healthy thing to go through when you do get cheated on. It feels like you are actually being traumatized, and it affects you physically as well. I know one time when I had gotten cheated on, I literally lost my breath for a second. I felt like my heart stopped and skipped a beat, and I was literally having a panic attack, and that's really not healthy at all, given I was already not in a very good state of mind. But that was definitely something that impacted me to the fullest in that moment. So the last piece of art I'd like to talk about, it's not a painting, it's not a sculpture, it is a song, and it's a recent song. Came out in 2020. It's called Intruders by Jessie Reyez. Jessie Reyez is a Colombian-Canadian R&B soul artist. She's a songwriter, she's a singer, she's a poet. She writes songs about love, heartbreak, hope. She's very poetic. She has so much skill in her songwriting. Like it's so poetic, and I love poetry, and the way she translates it into song is absolutely beautiful and makes my eyes water. She's one of my favorite musicians ever. I remember the first time I saw her, it was at the Governor's Ball in 2017. The Governor's Ball is basically a music festival where somebody headlines, and before that there's like a bunch of artists on other stages in a huge field. It's a way for them to gain exposure and to get paid. But the first time I saw her, it was near the end of her set. She was playing like a Future cover, I think, on her acoustic guitar. So I was kind of interested. I was just kind of watching from afar and listening to her, and her voice, she just seems so genuine, and I love her singing voice too. Like, she was super cool. The last song that she performed, I believe it was Gatekeeper. That shit was like wow for me, because there was so much passion and anger, rage in her voice when she sung it. $20 million in a car. Girl, tie your hair up if you want to be a star. You can feel how it made her feel just by hearing the tone of her voice and how she accentuated certain words and syllables, and it was just very impactful. I actually loved her so much that I was like, wow, I want to remember this artist. She might be my new favorite. And I took a picture on my Instax camera. That's how far it was, but I have this picture still. This song, when it came out, I lost my shit. Even when I was putting this video together, when I played it, I couldn't stop crying. This song, Intruders, can be interpreted, I feel like, a couple different ways. If you're not watching the music video, it can be interpreted as a song about letting people in that just want to hurt you, and how you're not going to tolerate the people that plan to intrude in on you, basically, like, and just want to take from you and don't show any mercy. It's interpreted in the music video as intruders planning on colonizing a land that Native people have been taking care of and deeming as home, just been living off of the land, you know. It's very, very powerful, because it even shows her fighting and doing everything that she can to get them off. I think it speaks to all people of color who have ancestry that's rooted in slavery and genocide. There is an injustice that comes with that. There is love for your culture, and it's such a shame and a tragedy that when you love your culture, there is also frustration, there's anger, there is sadness, especially when you consider the history. The Europeans invaded native lands in the Americas. The Native Americans were here first. The Tainos were here first. Imagine somebody just going into your home and killing your family and forcing you to acclimate into their ways, forcing their culture onto you, when all you were just doing was minding your business and living off of the land and loving the land, and these people were chopping trees and killing your animals and depriving you of your livelihood and all of these things that make up who you are and who your community is. As humans, it's not fair, because that's all we have is community. We don't just have ourselves, you know, we're social beings. There were so many other people that gave their feedback on the video as well that related to the song, and it impacted many different people, because there are many different people who derive from different lands who were invaded. The Trail of Tears, the Igwe Massacre, the Haitian Revolution. Imagine not being a country of war and having to resort to war to get people out because they're enslaving your people, your family, your community. In the 1970s, the US even went as far as to force unauthorized sterilizations on people of color. Isn't that scary to imagine the reason why power would do something like that? Anyway, the artwork animation for this song also is absolutely beautiful. So the song is very soothing, it's very calm. The music video is incredibly symbolic in its own way, especially when you consider that the island is a man, and the protagonist in the video is in love with her island, her land. It's not just the fact that we own this land, because we don't. We just live in it. It's especially powerful to see her grab the blood of her land and go to war for it.
I wish people would speak up. I wish people would watch it and like speak up. Talk about it. Talk to your enemy. If there's someone that you don't agree with, the only way that change is going to happen is when you talk. What's that? There's an MLK quote that's like, you want to make change? Don't talk to your friends. Talk to your enemies. Try to explain things to people, because sometimes ignorance just comes from a lack of understanding. If more people understood, I feel like there'd be more change.
Thank you so much for watching me. Those are my 3 favorite art pieces about love. I hope to see you again in the next video. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if you're still here. Please comment your favorite color. I don't care. Hope you have a blessed morning, day, evening, whatever. Love you.